Hi, everybody. I'm Jill Weberding, and I'm here to bring you another episode from our Nurse Expert series. And I'm so excited to have Sarah Bell with me, who's a nurse leader and expert of Bell's Breakthrough Leadership Coaching. Hi, Sarah. How are you today?
Hi, Jill. I'm doing great. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. We're gonna get into it just in a minute. I want to do a few housekeeping things and just remind you that you can catch this webinar in the Show Me Your Stethoscope Facebook group as well as on YouTube. And remember that this replay is only available for 24 hours. And tomorrow, after that 24 hours, it's going to go into the vault and be locked away into the Nurse Expert webinar series vault. And so the only way to access that will be after tomorrow is to upgrade to the premium pass, which gives you access to all the webinars, Nurse Expert webinars that we've done so far this year, including any of those who have continuing education credit. So special thanks to our sponsor for this webinar, Larina Walden Exam Solutions. And Latrina Walden Exam Solutions provides the necessary study skills to support aspiring nurse practitioners to develop into independent thinkers and provides board preparation and tools so that the nurse practitioner graduates can practice confidently as providers. This is so important. It was founded in 2018, and Latrina Walden Exam Solutions is a platform that has blossomed into a destination for nurse practitioner education and collaboration, building on issues of common interest to advance nursing practice. Latrina Walden and the products and services offered here are in no way sponsored or approved or affiliated with Walden University. All right, Sarah, let's get started. I can't wait to see this. The Ninja Nurse Leaders, 5 things incredibly successful nurse leaders do. All right, I'm going to let you take it away, and I'm going to let you share your screen. Okay, and I think you are ready to go. Thanks so much again for being with us today, Sarah.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you. Okay. Hi, everyone, and welcome. Ninja Nurse Leaders, 5 things incredibly successful nurse leaders do to create a calm and therapeutic environment and build an engaged team who are aligned closely with your mission and your purpose. And so a little bit quickly about who I am and why I'm presenting this. I am an RN. I have 27 years leadership experience. I was born in the UK, but came to Texas in 2002. I am a certified coach and owner of Bell's Coaching, as Jill just mentioned. And I've been a leadership coach for nurses since 2013. And I am a wife and a mother of a high school freshman. Really, what's more important, though, is my why I do what I do, why I created Bell's Breakthrough Leadership Coaching, and why I love to work with nurse leaders is because I love helping nurses become incredibly successful leaders, because I believe that our patients receive a higher quality of care when they're in a calm and a therapeutic environment. And this environment is created when the people taking care of the people feel valued and cared about. So that is when the nursing staff and all of the other direct patient care staff feel valued and cared about, then we can create a calm therapeutic environment. And a ninja nurse leader creates this kind of environment. So this is their why and this is their purpose. And so what is a ninja nurse leader? Well, it's a nurse with a deep, deep sense of purpose. Yes, they're very purposeful about the care of the patients, but they are also purposeful about developing and growing a team who are responsible for taking care of the patients. They truly want to make a difference, not just to the patients, but the team and the entire organization. It is their reason for being, and they absolutely love what they do. And they are obsessed with their why. And so as you can see here on this quote from Simon Sinek, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And because a ninja nurse leader is so passionate about creating this therapeutic environment, that is their why, people really love working for them and want to align themselves with them. They really care about their people more than they care about their process. And I'm not sure if you're familiar with the quote, but it's a good one to remember. People don't care about what you know until they know that you care, how much you care. And so Ninja Nurse leaders really do put the people first and care about the people before they care about the process, but the process still matters to them. And I chose the word ninja. I looked it up and I thought, well, it's an interesting word. Yes, it is aligned with Japanese art of ninjutsu, but it's also a person who excels in a particular skill or activity. And a ninja nurse leader is a nurse who excels at leadership. And so here's how they operate. They operate very, very intentionally. They are very highly focused on relationships. They understand and believe that leadership is all about relationships and not just about the team that they're working directly with, but the other support services as well. So things like quality managers and educators, they build strong alliance with that broader team, as well as their supervisor and other people in the organization. Relationships come first. And as I said before, they're very, very intentional about their actions. They're very intentional about their relationships. And it's all connected to creating this environment where employees thrive and feel valued and cared about, and then so do the patients. They build trust. They're all about not just the relationship and being intentional. They build trust. So people trust them, but they also trust their team. They trust their team to deliver this exceptional patient care. And they're very connected. They network, they're connected inside the organization, and they're connected outside of the organization. And so they're constantly building relationships and building teams. And the reason they do this is because they know that they're the leader. They don't necessarily have all the answers to everything. So they want to be connected and they want to collaborate with their team, and they want to collaborate with all the other people they build relationships with. So they're building a strong, strong team. Team development is everything to a ninja nurse leader. They know that their responsibility is, just like in the nursing process, we talk about helping our patients become as independent as they can with their activities of daily living. A ninja nurse leader looks at their team in a very similar way. For them, their purpose is developing a team so that they can be the best they can possibly be. They're very transparent with their communication. They're very direct. They're very transparent. They share everything that they can possibly share so that everybody is on the same page and has the bigger picture. And they have a vision of what success looks like. So they know what done and done well looks like. They often talk about running a well-oiled machine, and they share this vision with everybody. Again, they're very transparent. They're always talking about the future and what the team are working towards. Ninja nurse leaders' mindset is really, really interesting, because as nurses, we're trained to identify problems, right? We go out in the field, we do vital signs, and we're monitoring our patients. And the reason we do this, of course, is to make sure there are no problems. So we're very trained to have a problem-focused mindset because we want to make sure we detect them early and do the best we can with interventions for our patients. The ninja nurse leader switches their mindset from problem-focused to outcome-focused. So they're always looking at what is it, where are we going, and how are we going to get there, and what do we need to do. They don't ignore problems, but they're more focused on the outcomes, and they'll overcome any problems or challenges along the way with their team. So they do 5 very, very specific things, ninja nurse leaders. They have a leadership style. They're aligned with a mission. They're very focused on a team. They set very clear boundaries and expectations, and they create supportive habits. And so we're going to look at each one of these individually. So first of all, leadership style. There are a lot of leadership styles, but there are actually 10 common leadership styles. But in healthcare, the 2 that are most important to a ninja nurse leader are transformational and servant. And so transformational leadership is a leadership style where the nurse leader encourages, inspires, they motivate, they innovate, they create change that's going to help the growth of the organization, and shape future success. So it's very focused on here is where we are, here is where we want to be, and here are some things that we need to do to get there. It works very hand in hand with servant leadership, because in servant leadership, the leader is very, very focused on what does the team need, what do the employees need, so that they can be successful. So I feel like transformational and servant leadership kind of works hand in hand. And it's about the leader being very focused on where the journey the team is going on, what the future looks like, and making sure that everybody on the team has what they need in order to be able to get there. I also have put autocratic leadership on here because this is an interesting one. Oftentimes when we start out as leaders, well, for me, for sure, when I started out as a leader, I was an autocratic leader. In fact, I thought I was the boss. And so I thought I would make all the decisions, and then all I would need to do is tell everybody else what they needed to do. And I met a lot of resistance. However, there is still a place for autocratic leadership in healthcare, because under an emergency situation, for example, if someone's having a code, you don't really want to talk about, well, this is the state the patient's in, and this is the state we want them to be in, and what are all of your ideas on how to get there. You need somebody who's going to take control and be very directive. So there is a place for autocratic leadership, but it's not something that a ninja nurse leader would use on a daily basis. The reason why having a leadership style is important is because it provides a model and a process for the nurse leader to follow. So just like we have a nursing process that we assess, plan, implement, diagnose, evaluate, studying a leadership style and understanding a leadership style gives the ninja nurse leader a model and a process to follow. And it also helps them learn about and align attitudes and behaviors that are aligned with that model, so they can be very consistent and very authentic. I had a client called Gail, and she came to me because she wanted help because she had poor performing team members. And so right off the bat, she was focused on problems, of course, rather than outcomes. And she was always looking at what was wrong with her team and wanted my help to turn them around. Well, the secret is we turn ourselves around first. And what Gail learned by adopting these leadership styles, that she turned things around, and she was very intentional on focusing on what was working and what was going well. And she actually became one of the top performing managers in her peer group, which was very, very exciting, just from switching and adopting a leadership style. So if you want to know more about leadership styles, I'm not going to go into depth, but there's a URL here at the bottom of the page, and I will share this later, but feel free to take a screenshot, and it talks about the top 5 leadership styles in nursing. So the reason why ninja nurse leaders really want to adopt this leadership style, and they choose servant leader and transformational leadership, is because they want to prioritize the individual team development and growth, because they know when the team is growing and developing, they're going to be able to provide better care for the patients. The second thing that a ninja nurse leader does is aligns herself with the organization's mission. She's already on her mission to create this therapeutic environment, but she or he aligns themselves with the company mission. They know and they believe in this mission and these values. They share it with the team. They talk about it consistently, and it's very key to their decision making. So when there's a decision on what should we do next, the ninja nurse leader is most likely to choose something that is aligned with the mission and the values and the vision of what the team are creating. It helps them communicate and then connect the team to this mission. It creates that bigger picture. It helps her communicate or him communicate why things really matter. And when we don't understand why things matter and we don't have a rationale, this is where people will, with the best intentions, find shortcuts to make things quicker and easier. So the ninja nurse leader is very clear on making sure that everyone understands the mission and values. Also, interestingly, according to Gallup, younger nurse leaders actually value mission over money. And so having a strong mission and being aligned with a mission is very appealing if you're bringing new younger nurses into the arena. And it's not that money doesn't matter. Of course, none of us wants to undervaluate ourselves, our qualifications, and what we bring to the team. But if they were going to make a choice between a job that maybe there's a couple of dollars difference and they're aligned with the mission, they're always going to stay with the mission. The Ninja Nurse leader is very intentional. They act with intent, and the intent is to follow this mission. And the way they know whether they are on track is by looking at the key performance indicators. Now, we all know we have key performance indicators that tell us how well we're doing and where we need to improve. But the Ninja Nurse leader is always looking toward the goal, and she uses these indicators as a measurement of progress, not a number to be managed. And so that is one mistake often that we make, is when the numbers aren't what we want them to be, we make reactionary, rash decisions to try and manage the number, as opposed to accepting the number for what it is and looking at what we need to do going forward. And so the Ninja Nurse leader is going to align their processes very closely with the key performance indicators. They're constantly emphasizing the future. It's all about this is where we're going and this is where we are. Now, what are our next steps to help us get there? The third thing that Ninja Nurse leaders do is focus very intensely on their team. They are all about their team. And even though I've talked about processes and how they like to align the process with the mission, they're always going to put people over the process. So they're going to be the first one to acknowledge a process isn't working. They're going to listen to the team when the team reports that they can't do what's expected, that there's a challenge that needs to be overcome. The Ninja Nurse leader is always going to listen to her team. They're very skilled relationship builders. And as I mentioned before, they trust and they build trust. So they're very, very connected with their team, and they're always constantly serving them and making sure they've had the training they need, they have the resources they need, that they're listening to their team, and they're understanding when things need to change. Often, a Ninja Nurse leader is going to believe in others when they don't believe in themselves. So I don't know if you've ever worked with somebody like that who's championed you and saw something in you didn't see in yourself. This is what Ninja Nurse leaders are excellent at. And they love to develop, encourage, champion, and delegate. Ninja Nurse leaders are amazing delegators because they see it as part of employee development. They don't see it as, oh, this is something that somebody needs to do. They look at everything as, who would be good at this? Who would benefit from learning something new? And that is the way that they approach delegation. It's a form of employee development. They help each individual be the very best they can be. And they focus on strengths over weaknesses. So they're always looking at, what are you good at? What are your strengths? How can you utilize that strength? And sometimes there are maybe some things we're not so good at that we could get better at, but that is not their priority. It's always on how to utilize people's strengths. Now, engaged, thriving nurses are better performers who promote clinical outcomes, including team performance, patient safety, and clinical ratings. So this approach that a Ninja Nurse leader takes by developing their team, she's really creating an engaged and enthusiastic workforce. And most importantly, they share the leadership. So they don't see themselves as the boss, the one who has to come up with all the ideas, all of the answers, all of the solutions. They bring the team together and they value everybody's ideas and contributions. They'll share, this is our next goal, this is our next project, this is what is expected of us. And then she's going to ask the team, what do you think? And how do you think we can get there? And she's going to utilize the team's ideas. There was one manager that I worked with, and we had a clinic that was failing miserably and had been for several years. And we used to say things like, oh, it must be cursed and all of these things, could never get that clinic to perform well. And then we had this new manager, and he was so quiet, so unassuming, but he was a ninja nurse leader. So it was like he was there, he was present, but he was very, very calm and quiet. And he did all of these things. He connected with his team, he shared the mission, and he actually turned that clinic around, and it ended up being one of our top performing clinics. And it was amazing. So the results these ninja nurse leaders get, they get quietly, and they get by being consistent. They're always going to meet you where you are. So they don't look at you as, oh, you're not good enough yet, you need to be better. They look at you and they ask you, where are you? How are you doing? What would you like to improve on? And they're going to help you improve on the areas that you want to improve on. So they bring you along, and they understand that all of us have different experiences and come from different areas, and that we're all going to be in a different place and have different learning needs. And they just see that as an integral part of their role. This is where you are. Now let's move you along a little bit further. Ninja nurse leaders set very, very clear boundaries and very, very clear expectations. This is really important. They are very, very self-aware. And I should probably put that on the slide because it's key to this. Very self-aware. They know their triggers. They know the things that upset them, and they really don't do drama. So they establish clear boundaries and clear expectations. So when they establish these boundaries, the expectations really are that you uphold the boundaries. And they can be very, very simple things. It can be something like, my favorite one, and I always talk about this, is punctuality. And they expect everybody to show up for work on time. And it really upsets them because as nurses, you all know, it can upset the whole day when somebody shows up late. So they don't leave it for chance. They don't assume that everybody understands this, because the thing is, wherever somebody has worked before, they're going to continue, or whoever they've worked for, or previous managers, they're going to continue operating with what has been acceptable in the past. So an ninja nurse leader doesn't leave that for anybody to figure out for themselves. They're very clear. In fact, sometimes they even share in an interview process, these are the top 3 things that I absolutely expect. I absolutely expect everyone to show up for work on time. And maybe a couple of other things that are really important, because it creates this culture of safety. When people know where the boundaries are and everybody is held to the same expectations, everybody understands. Now, it's not that they're not flexible, and it's not that they don't understand. You know, somebody can be late one day and they're going to have a discussion with them and find out what happened. But it's just that they're very consistent. And that culture of safety is extremely important. And the rules apply to everyone. They're very, very clear. So I see clarity as kindness. And I've worked with some nurse managers who kind of get embarrassed about this. They say things like, why do I need to explain the obvious? Well, what is obvious to you or I might not be obvious to everyone else. So one of the kindest things that any one of us can ever do is be very, very clear on the boundaries and what is expected. They also practice curiosity over judgment when it comes to this. So I mentioned a minute ago, you know, sometimes somebody is going to be late. Then maybe the traffic was bad, there was a car wreck or something. So they're very curious when somebody doesn't meet those expectations, rather than jumping in and judging them and saying that they're late and it can't happen again and they need to improve or whatever. They sit down and they understand and learn from the employee what happened and coach them through that situation. And they're very, very pragmatic. So a ninja nurse leader absolutely values accountability and fairness. So if they're going to delegate something, they're going to expect the person who's they've delegated to absolutely follow through on that delegation. And they're very, very fair. The last thing that a ninja nurse leader does is they are very purposeful in creating certain habits. For example, I've worked with some managers who talk about their open door policy, and their open door policy is that their door is always open. They're always available, even when they're on PTO sometimes, which is crazy. And even in the evenings, because they have cell phone and laptop and things like that. So they set themselves up with habits that everybody is familiar with. So, for example, an open door policy for an Ninja Nurse leader is, these are the hours my door will be open. These are the hours my door will not be open. But they're also very clear on what they're doing when their door is closed. I'm going to be in my office and the door will be closed for 2 hours because I'm doing the quality reports or I'm doing the performance reviews. So they're transparent, and then my door will be open between these hours and for anyone to come in and check in with me and share problems. Now, of course, sometimes there's an emergency and they understand that, but mostly they stick to this habit. Saying yes and saying no, and as you can see, I put a line through this. They don't habitually, reactively say yes or say no to anything. They're very purposeful. And so they operate with conscious choice. So if you're going to ask a Ninja Nurse leader, hey, can I have next Saturday off? They're not going to say yes. They're not going to say no. They may ask a question, or they may say, hey, I'll get back to you. I'll take a look at the schedule. Or they may ask you a question about who of you already asked to trade shifts with you. So very, very conscious and purposeful in their actions. They take responsibility for everything that happens in their facility, on their floor, whatever the area of responsibility is. They take responsibility. And so if something doesn't go well, or if a process breaks down or something happens, they really take responsibility for working through that. Quality improvement, we'll look at what went wrong and we will do what we need to do to make sure we get it right next time. They provide oversight, constant oversight, but they don't micromanage. And so by oversight, they know what's been delegated to people. They know what everybody's roles and responsibilities are, and they check in purposefully to see how things are going and make sure things are on track. They don't like surprises on the day a report is due in to find out that nobody's been working on it. So this is what I mean by oversight. Now, micromanagement is when you don't trust people. And so you want to be very prescriptive on how something needs to be done. And so there's no freedom for anybody to use their own ideas, their own initiative. That's micromanagement. It's very difficult to get something right for a micromanager. They just provide oversight to make sure that goals and objectives are being met. Ninja Nurse leaders are highly organized individuals. They use their calendars and their schedules. They even book time on their calendar for them to work on their reports and their projects. They just block it out and they say, this is my time. This is my closed door policy time on their schedules, so that they know every day what they're going to be working on. And quite often at the end of the day, they'll make a list of the top 2 or 3 priorities that they're going to be working on the next day, so that when they come in the morning, they're going to hit the ground running because they know what they're going to do. An Ninja Nurse leader does regular check-ins with all of their staff. So regular check-ins are one-on-ones, but they don't have to come and sit in my office and let's spend an hour together. It's just checking in to make sure they've touched base on a routine basis, at least monthly, often weekly, with each individual. They want to go and they want to celebrate any successes that individual has had. They want to give feedback on how things are going. They want to do some coaching to help somebody move forward. And these regular check-ins, you just take 10 or 15 minutes, but it's a habit and they consistently do this. Now, this is really important if you have new nurses that with less than 2 years tenure, because these are the nurses, according to Gallup, that are most likely to leave. So this is where you're most likely to see your turnover when you have somebody with less than 2 years tenure. But if you have a Ninja Nurse leader, they're building a trusting relationship. They're investing in this nurse's growth and development, and they're checking in with them constantly. they're going to be less likely to lose that nurse in those first 2 years and bring them along and help them grow and develop. And this on the bottom here, sharpen the sword. This comes from Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Successful Leadership. And what this means is these habits that they have, they review them on a routine basis also to make sure that they're still working, that they're still valuable, and it's a still good use of their time, the way that they're operating. And they tweak things up a little bit so that they're always making sure that they're on top of their game. And one really, really, really important thing a Ninja Nurse leader does is they role model the importance of self-care. So a Ninja Nurse leader is going to take their PTO. They're going to have their evenings to themselves because they know that they can only be the best for other people if they're taking care of themselves first. And so this is extremely important. And they role model this. And they also make sure that the rest of their team understands the importance of taking care of themselves and taking time for themselves too. So those are the 5 things that successful nurse leaders really do. They are passionate about supporting and developing the people that they're taking care of. They're very, very clear. They're transparent. They're open. They're consistent. They're always communicating about the vision, the purpose, why we're doing things, how well people are doing. They're always celebrating with people. And they're always catching people doing something right. And I didn't mention that. That's their purpose. When they go out on the floor and they do their rounds and they're observing to see how things are going, they are highlighting the things that are going well, the things that people are doing right. They're very clear and consistent about their leadership style. They actually develop the rest of the team. So they're very good at succession planning. So if they have a charge nurse that they'll bring under their wing, they're going to share leadership style. They're going to develop them, which is an awesome thing because when they take their PTO, they usually feel pretty confident that they're not going to be disturbed because they have a second in command who is going to make the decisions on their behalf, and they're going to trust them to do that. They're very, very clear and transparent and consistent about the mission and the purpose and the progress of the team and the organization. They share data. They have meetings to share data, reports, so that everybody can see and celebrate the progress and the success that team is making. They're very transparent and consistent and clear about their teams, about their role and the role and responsibility of their team. So just like I don't know, this is maybe not a good analogy, but when I look at the football team, everybody has a specific role to play on that team. The quarterback is the quarterback. The quarterback doesn't then suddenly jump into defense because he doesn't trust the defense. The quarterback stays in his position and becomes an expert and is very skilled. And the Ninja Nurse leader understands this, and they know that they need to continually grow to remain a leader, but they also need to make sure that their team understands what their specific roles are and that they have the training and the coaching they need to be successful. They're very transparent and consistent with boundaries and expectations. They understand the difference between a reason and an excuse. And so they're consistently upholding these boundaries. And they're very consistent and transparent about where they are, what they're doing, and why they're doing it. And they share all of this constantly with their team. So those are the things, the 5 things a Ninja Nurse leader does. So really and truly, what they are is they are a true leader and not a boss. So the boss is the person who comes in and they think they have all the answers. They know what needs to be done. They tell everybody what to do. And this is an easy mistake to make, especially when you're an expert, right? So if you're an expert at delivering patient care, you actually do know how to deliver excellent patient care, and you do know what needs to be done. So it's very tempting to slip into the role of a boss because it feels quicker and easier just to tell everybody what they need to do and expect them to do it. But a Ninja Nurse leader knows this doesn't work because people don't like to be told what to do. They like to be asked. They like to be valued. They like to be respected for what they bring to the team. And so this is why a Ninja Nurse leader is really a leader and not a boss. Like you can see on the top right, the boss is the guy in red and the leader is the one in blue. So what are the next steps that you can take? Well, if you want to do some work on your own, I would review the 5 leadership styles in nursing. And here's that URL again. If you didn't get it the first time, take a screenshot or write that down quickly. That's a great place to start. So you can really start to understand what these different leadership styles are. You can make a list of leaders that you know, love, and respect. And then start thinking about it, making a note. What was it about them that you really, really loved and respected? What was it they did? What were the attributes? How did they show up? So that you can then look at those and you can determine if these are attributes or talents or gifts that you want to embrace, so that you can start using them as a role model and start modeling your leadership style. If you want to take a different approach, you can actually work with me. And you might be wondering, well, why is there a picture of a stagecoach? What's that got to do with nursing and leadership? Well, back in the day, the stagecoach was there to get somebody from where they were or where they are to where they want to be as quickly as possible. So there were no cars in those days. You could walk, or you could perhaps ride a horse, right? So if you're walking, you're doing it yourself, you will eventually get to where you want to get to when you're walking. It's going to take you a lot longer and you're going to need a lot of breaks. Or you can get a coach and you can take that coach who's going to get you from where you are to where you want to be much more quickly. So if you want to work with me, or you'd like to find out a little bit more about what that would be like, you can email me at sarah.bell@bellscoaching.com. I have this 14-week coaching program here, How to Be an Impactful Nurse Leader from Rookie to Rockstar Nurse Manager. And it's a 14-week program. And we're going to cover all of the things that we just talked about in this webinar, and also teach you in this program, teach you a very cool process to help you really be that outcome-focused leader that wants to bring the team with you, that helps you build relationships with your team. And so you do the work on you. And as you do the work on you, your team starts to embrace and follow you. And so that is the 5 things that a successful Ninja Nurse leader does. And so now I'm open for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah, so much. I think, all of us, after listening to that, it's like, okay, how do we sign up to work only with Ninja Nurse leaders, right? Like that's what everybody wants, is to have in their corner, is that type of a leader. And you probably, I know I certainly did, listening to you, recognize certain characteristics from some of my past managers and leaders. They may have had 1 or 2, but I don't know that, I ever experienced really that full package. But, certainly it's like you can see the power, how impactful that would be to have all of those together.
Yeah, they're very, very intentional and purposeful, and they really make conscious choices. They don't just react to the next problem or issue that comes up and put out fires. That's not how they operate. Their MO is really, there will be no fires.
Yeah, right. It's prevention. It's prevention. Yeah. It's all the strategies of preventing. And, I like how you talk about, it's not really about, it's putting the people first in your team and recognizing, and I'm sure you probably go into this in your program, how, team development is not an easy, part of a nurse leader's job, because everybody, like you mentioned, brings their own experiences. They have their own, skills that they excel in, where others, they might, need to kind of help brought along with, and how to recognize the strengths on your team and really emphasize that, and then help even when you're interviewing, getting the right fit of what are you lacking, what do you need most. to bring into your team to really balance out and create that engaged, close-knit, high-performing team that everyone, like you said, is, they're in it for the mission. They understand what their purpose is. They're basically a purpose-driven department or team. That's incredibly impactful when you operate from there versus, did I hit my productivity numbers? Did I get this number right on the report? It's a completely different approach.
Yes, it is. And there's a balance, right? Because and this is why trust is so important, because if you need to be able to trust other people to take care of the patient and to be able to delegate so you can spend more time growing and developing the team. So there's kind of a balance there, and it can take a while to really start seeing the results. But when you do see the results, they're going to be more consistent. They're going to be steadier, as opposed to constantly putting out firefighters. It's like a roller coaster. God, we got that one. Okay, what's next? It's exhausting. And this is where a lot of stress and burnout comes from.
Yeah. I mean, I can imagine just the huge impact that could have on turnover on your unit or in your department, when, your team knows and feels how much you value them, that you see their strengths, you want to hear their insight and their suggestions for improvement, that just really builds a completely different dynamic. And they do, like you said, they want, even if they get an offer for 50 cents more or $1 more an hour or $2 more an hour, when you don't want to leave people. When you have a great team that you work with and a great nurse leader, you're much more likely to stay with that team than just to chase the small incremental raise.
Oh, absolutely. And I have known people leave for the money and then come back and beg for their job back.
Yeah.
because they just feel good. It feels good to be on a successful team.
Absolutely. All right. This has been so great. Thank you, Sarah, again, for being with us today and highlighting those 5, top traits and habits of successful Ninja Nurse leaders. As a reminder, guys, the replay will be up for 24 hours before it is locked away in the vault. And again, another thank you to Latrina Walden Exam Solutions, who is our sponsor today and helped us bring Sarah and this Nurse Expert series, make it possible for everyone here. All right. Thanks, guys. And we'll see you on the next episode.